Hi, Mr. Deering and Ms. Braun. I'm Rob Kittredge, counsel for the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedoms. Mr. Deering, I think counsel for the Ottawa Police Service asked you a question about whether you saw news reports telling you not to come to the protest area after the Emergencies Act was invoked. You replied that you weren't watching the news around that time because the media had been lying about the protests. Do you remember that question?
Yes, I do.
But you saw news reports about the protests before that time, didn't you?
I may have.
It may preclude some of my questions, but did you see news reports that lied about or misrepresented the protests?
All the time.
Did media reports suggest that the protesters were aggressive,
They did.
racist,
They did.
violent?
They did.
While you were at the protests, did you see any aggression or violent behavior from protesters?
From protesters or the police, sorry?
From the protesters?
Oh, no, not from the protesters, no.
From the police?
Lots.
Did you see any racist behavior while you were at the protests?
No, it was a diverse culture.
Thank you. Ms. Braun, some media reports and our Prime Minister have suggested that unvaccinated people are often racist and or misogynist. Could you tell me whether you saw any racism or misogyny from unvaccinated people or anybody else while at the protests in Ottawa?
Absolutely not. If anything, if anyone had any of that, there was a lot of healing with that, coming together for freedom from all over the world.
And things were a little bit rushed at the end of your conversation with counsel for the convoy organizers, but you mentioned in passing that during your arrest, a gun was pointed at your head. Can you tell me a little more about that?
That's right. So from the video, you saw that I was kneeling down. I had told the officers that I was willing to be arrested and that I would not resist. And at that point, I ended up on the ground with my hands in front of me, and a very heavy knee went into my back, and there were several officers on me. And because I caught my fall with my hands and they wanted my hands behind my back, they kept saying, put your hands behind your back, but I couldn't because of the weight. And it took some time, at least a minute, at which point I thought, okay, I'm going to dare look up. And I looked up, and there was a gun right up my head, a long rifle gun.
Which end of the gun was pointed at your head?
It looked like it was the barrel of the gun.
And who was pointing it at your head?
It was one of the officers. And I remember it was a more beige kind of camo.
All right, well, thank you very much. Those are my questions.
Thank you.